What's going on, guys? So welcome to this Python tutorial series number 7, and this is the part 2. So today we're going to be talking about tuples in Python. So without further ado, let's start. So let's talk about tuples characteristics. Now this lets us store multiple items in a single variable, just like the list. But unfortunately, it is immutable. Okay, which means we cannot change, we cannot alter, we cannot modify the elements inside the tuple. All right, so it allows duplicate values. It is also ordered, which means it will just stay the same the way we created it. Okay, so it can also be indexed. All right, so let's talk about what data types you can store inside a tuple. So you can store data types such as string, int, float, and boolean. And you can store them simultaneously as well, just like in the list. So you can have a string while having a float, while having a boolean and an int. So you can do that. All right, so to create a tuple in Python, we use the open and close parentheses. And we also have the tuple constructor, which you can use to convert any iterable into a tuple. Okay, so let's talk about its functions. All right, now the functions of tuples are very limited because, as I said, it is immutable. So there is restriction in functions of tuples. Okay, so we have the len. Now this is not tuple function, but it is a built-in. So as I said, this len function can actually be used in different or diverse functions in Python. All right, so we can actually print this directly in the print function. So let's say I have a name tuple. So let's just say Rave, John, just like the previous example in the list. So we have John and Brad, okay? So now if we print the len of this name, so this gets the size of the iterable. So we print this. So as you can see, it threw us 3, which is correct because the elements inside the tuple is 3 in size, okay? So let's proceed to count function. Now when we talk about this, this will actually give us the number of times an element has occurred inside the tuple, okay? So basically, this is dealing with the duplicate values. So let's change this to age tuple. So let's say 18, 18 and 18, 59, 45, 17 and 17 and 17, okay? So as you can see, we have duplicates here that we can use the count of for. So let's use that. So we have age.count. Now this dot count function is actually inside the tuple function. So you can use the dot operator here. Okay, so now inside this parameter, you will actually specify the value that you want to get the number of occurrences. All right, so let's say I want to get the 18. So if we print this, this should be 2 because it occurred twice inside the tuple. So let's say 17, that's going to be 3. So we have that. And if we have 45, which is just once, so that's 1. Okay, so let's proceed to the last function that you can use in tuple. So we have the index function. Now when you use this, you're actually just getting the position of an element specified. Okay, so let's do that. So dot index. So if you want to get the index or the position of an element inside the tuple, you use the index. So let's say I want to get the 45. So let's specify that that is 45. Now it is in the third position. So you have 0th position, first position, second position, and third position. All right. So you want to get the 17. Now, when you do this, the only element that it will detect to get the index of is just the first occurrences. Okay. So it will just get this, not this or the next elements. So it will just get the first one. Okay. So keep that in mind. All right, so let's proceed to modifying the tuple, but not the elements, okay? So we can actually modify the tuple itself, but not the elements. So you need to understand that we cannot actually um, modify the elements inside a tuple, but we can actually modify or just tweak a bit the tuple itself. All right, so we can actually join tuples using addition operator or like in the concatenation of strings. Okay, so let's say I have a name tuple here, Rave, then Brad, and then let's say John. All right, now this has corresponding age. So let's say Rave is 19 years old, Brad is 50 years old, and John is 30 years old. Okay? And you want to join them because sometimes it might be useful to just see the combination of two tuples. So you can do that. So let's say combi and then name plus age. So if you print the combi variable, so as you can see, they have been joined together in a single tuple. So you can do that. All right. So we also have a technique to be able to um, alter or change the elements inside the tuple by using the conversion of it into a list first and then convert it again to a tuple, which doesn't really make sense, but sometimes you can actually do this because if you do that, you can actually just use the list rather than using the tuple and then convert it into a list and then make it a tuple again, which has a lot of steps and prone to errors, right? So, but let's do that anyway. So let's say I have a name tuple here and I want to change the Brad string. So I will just make this Victor. And as I said, it is mutable, right? So to be able to change this, we need to convert the tuple into a list first. So we have name list here, variable, and then we are just going to call the constructor of list. And inside of this parameter, you can actually pass the iterable, which is the tuple, and then this will become a list, right? So you can actually change the Brad now by using the indexing. So we have name list and then left and right brackets, and this is in the first position. So we're going to specify that this is 1. So here, we're actually going to change this to Victor. Okay? And the only thing that we need to do is to convert this to a tuple again. So name tuple, or actually, let's just use the name tuple here and type, or actually, tuple. And then inside of this, we are going to pass the name list variable. So if you print the name, so as you can see, this has become a tuple again, and the Brad in the previous tuple has become Victor. And this is basically how you use the tuple tuple constructor and the list constructor in Python. So let's proceed to unpacking of tuples. So actually, you can unpack this single tuple into diverse variables. Okay, so let's say we have the first person, so first and then second and then third. So if you do this and then call the tuple, you're actually going to store the Rave into the first variable, Brad is in the second variable, and John is in the third variable. So if you print the first as well as the second and the third, so as you can see, they have been separated to each other. So this is basically how you use tuples in Python, and I hope you learned something from this, and see you guys next time.